What up, gang? It's your boy Kevin Bacon. In this video, I'm going to be talking about why in the world there are so many coding languages, frameworks, and tools. How do we choose one? Well, the easier answer is they're all different and they all do something different. So that's all y'all need to know. No, I'm just playing. But for real though, they do all do something different. And so in this video, I'm kind of going to go over why they all do something different. Now, let's go ahead and start with the coding languages. In my opinion, there are 4 different types of coding languages. I'm using coding as a broad term to talk about all the different kinds. There's programming languages, there's query languages, markup languages, and style languages. Now, what do those all do and what do they mean? I think programming languages are somewhat self-explanatory in that they do all the programmatical functions, meaning they're going to do all the computations, use and access classes and objects, and do all the stuff that you can't do with just normal text. We're talking about, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, Java, C++, C#, all of them. Those are all programming languages. They really are diving deep into the actual programmatical functions of your application. Next are query languages. Those are languages that are basically going to read and write to your database. So you got data somewhere in the database, you need to be able to access it. You're going to use a query language for that. SQL is the main one that most people know. You learn to read and write data. So yeah, pretty simple. Next is markup language. Markup languages are basically just text. It's just structuring your text and your content in a way that's easy to read. So, like HTML, XML is one. Those are basically just languages that put the text on the page, and then, the programming is what you use for everything else. And then the last but not least is styling languages. Everyone knows what styling languages do. They style your application. CSS, SAS, all those are basically languages that just style your application. Those are the 4 coding language types that I personally believe every application needs to function and to be really great. Without one of those 4, you're definitely missing something for sure. Now, I don't want you to get those confused with frameworks, because frameworks are something completely different than languages, because the frameworks are basically what we use to give our languages structure. So for example, if you've ever heard of Vue or React, those are JavaScript frameworks. They have, pre-created components and functions that we can use, and the language we're using in those frameworks are JavaScript. If you're a really big fan of TypeScript, Angular is a really great framework. If you need to create a web application, but you're only familiar with Python, there's one for that, and it's called Django. Same thing with Ruby on Rails. So there are all kinds of frameworks that do different things, but they all give your coding languages structure. Based off of the coding language that you're comfortable with, you may choose the framework that kind of coexists with that language. Now, within the frameworks, there are different types of frameworks: front-end frameworks and back-end frameworks, full-stack frameworks. I mentioned before Django, and I think I mentioned Ruby on Rails. Those are technically their full-stack frameworks, but to be honest with you, their front-end functionality and all the things that the front-end has to offer just isn't as much or as rich as you might be able to get with something like Vue or React. So you can actually pair up frameworks with frameworks. You can use Django for your backend using Python, and then, Vue for your front end using JavaScript. So frameworks, you can mix and match based off of your needs. But again, how do you know what you need? Pretty much I've been talking about preference this whole time. You like Python, so you're going to go with Django. I don't know why I'm saying that like an old black person, but basically those are all preference. But sometimes you need to consider the actual needs of your program. For example, React is actually faster than Angular. It's a smaller package, so you may choose React over Angular for that very reason. So performance is a big deal. Familiarity is a big deal. Sometimes you just got to change up the framework or the programming language because you want to get a new job. The one you're using it's not cutting it no more. There's lots of different reasons to switch up frameworks and coding languages and all of that. It's definitely performance. It's definitely preference. Looking for another job. Those are all reasons that you really could use to choose your language or your framework. Honestly, there is no one perfect right answer. But at the end of the day, hopefully you should be able to take this knowledge and know they're not as scary as you think. You just really close your eyes and pick one and go from there. As long as you start, as long as you learn it, you'll be fine. That's pretty much all I have for y'all. I appreciate you tuning in, listening, like, subscribe, or don't. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Peace.